You are about to enter the world of urban legends, where fact is often stranger than fiction. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between truth and urban legend. You are now entering the world of urban legends, where you'll see 3 stories. 2 of them are myths, but one story is true. Can you tell which is which? First up, a pair of streakers caught with their pants down and no ride home. Then, blinded by the light, a 60s acid trip goes horribly wrong when 3 young men stare into the sun. And escaping a deadly explosion, a hunting dog accidentally retrieves a lit stick of dynamite. Watch closely. Can you guess which of these is genuine? We'll let you know at the end of the show. January in Spokane, Washington. Tons of snow, frigid temperatures, and long nights. For most, there's plenty to do in a big city, but the guys in this story wanted more.
Nice.
Kevin Blood and Dustin Rhodes were always looking to make their own fun.
You have to be kind of inventive. I mean, during the summer, there's a lot of things to do. There's water sports and rock climbing and things like that. But during the winter, if you're not really into winter sports, it gets pretty boring.
So, what to do?
Shoot guns a lot,
Throw a lot of parties,
play computer games.
make giant snowmen.
Their ongoing challenge? To come up with something new, something to keep things interesting. On one particularly dull day, a heady mix of boredom, recklessness, and alcohol turns a heartfelt confession into a mischief-making prank.
We went to this bar downtown.
We started drinking.
After several beers, Kevin starts pouring his heart out to his buddies over his inability to meet girls and go out on dates.
I'm telling you, man, it's work and home. That's all I do with my life.
Dustin and Josh were like, hey, you got a confidence problem with like the ladies.
Just gotta get out, I gotta do something, I gotta meet people, but you know what? I got nothing.
You're kind of shy.
He keeps coming up to me asking me how we can talk to girls.
Well, I don't think you're trying very hard.
I mean, we've tried everything we possibly could.
Kevin's friends think he simply needs a boost, something to get him over his chronic shyness. And what better way, they figure, than to have him face his fears in the nude.
Here's a suggestion. We'll go up to that diner on Highway 7.
We decided that he just needed to get a little self-confidence, and the best way we figured was for him just to get naked and run past a bunch of strangers.
It was like, well, I'm drunk, I'm young.
And with that, the tale of the Spokane Streakers is born.
I am so scared right now, but you know what? This is gonna be the greatest thing we've ever done.
With the cold winter air and the effects of the alcohol wearing off, Kevin is now grasping with the sobering realization of what they're about to do.
There's gonna be families eating dinner.
Every time you say you're gonna do something, you need to not have such a negative attitude. That's your problem.
Negative attitude? You're making me run naked through a restaurant.
Because it'll be fun.
The deal is done, and the streak is on. With their ingenious plan mapped out, and their buddy Josh along with his video camera to record the prank, the boys cruise to the diner.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Each donning the perfect outfit for the occasion, a balaclava and a birthday suit.
We park on the side so they wouldn't see the license plates on the car. Then we would run in naked, run through, do a lap around the restaurant, come back out, get in the car, and drive away.
Unfortunately for these guys, they aren't the only pranksters at the restaurant that night. As they flash for the diners, another opportunistic patron makes his move. Now, you could say that running around in a restaurant naked is a pretty stupid idea. But even more questionable is leaving your getaway vehicle idling and unlocked out front.
We ran out. Kevin just stops. As soon as he sees the car start taking off, I start chasing it down. Hey! Grab for the door handle. The dude turns, looks at me, smiles, and locks the door.
Hey! Are you
Hey, you can't sit.
Now fully naked and totally exposed to the freezing winter air, they have nowhere to hide and absolutely no plan B.
What do we do now?
Let's get out of here. So we take off running behind the building, ran through a car dealership and found like this apartment complex in the back that it was all outdoor staircasing, so we could run in and hide underneath the staircase.
Could things get any worse? Meet police officer David Beckley.
Well, I got a call on the radio, a report of a couple of people streaking, and I was a few miles away and started heading over there. Figured any streaker worth his weight would be gone by the time I got there.
Oh, guys, the calls!
Let me guess, this isn't what it looks like.
Our Spokane streakers are rounded up, unmasked, and carted off by the police. Luckily for them, Officer Beckley takes pity on the boys.
Threw them in the back of the car with the heat on and ended up just driving them home. Felt bad that they kind of been outside in the cold, so we didn't really pursue anything as far as charges against them, thinking that they'd been punished enough.
And so ends the silly tale of our Spokane streakers. Too funny to be true, or just dumb enough to make sense? What do you think? We'll break our silence at the end of the show. But first, an instant challenge. See if you can guess right on mini-myth number 69, the camper van caper. In 1978, Campbell Murphy from Phoenix, Arizona was planning a trip. He went all out on a top-of-the-line motorhome. It even had cruise control, perfect for Arizona's long and straight highways. Campbell figured he could easily set the van to a steady speed, then jump in the back and make a coffee, even listen to music. But Campbell soon grew weary on that long and straight desert highway, so he got into bed and was soon soundly asleep. Permanently asleep. Could that have actually happened? Did Campbell Murphy put too much faith in his high-tech toy? True tale? Don't get taken for a ride. It's false. These stories began circulating in the 70s and now pop up on the net on a regular basis. We have 3 stories for you on Urban Legends. We've told you the tale of the streakers in Spokane, Washington. Did it happen? Now we'll tell you about the dangers of staring at the sun. Keep your eyes peeled, as the story could be true, or not. We'll tell you which one of our 3 stories is the real deal at the end of the show. Come with us back to California, 1969, where free love and mind-expanding drugs were very much a part of campus life. For the students at the heart of this story, however, the summer of love turned into a nightmare when they ran into a hippie guru and his pocket full of psychedelics. Meet Len Pilar.
There was me, and there was Harold, and there was Mike. We all dug the same music, and we all had the same values. We were all into the counterculture back then.
It was the war, it was drugs, it was free love, it was music, it was a little bit of everything, but we were looking for a little guidance, perhaps.
Len, Harold, and Mike find guidance in the form of underground guru Rudy Heisman.
We met this gentleman named Heisman. He was a little older than us.
We were like his disciples or something. I mean, he was almost a guru to us. He was very charismatic, and whatever he said, he struck a chord with us. Man.
It is your fault. It isn't God's fault. You mind if I take some of your weed?
No, go ahead. He was into drugs. He got us hooked up with some pretty heavy powders and potions in those days. And he'd use all our drugs. Of course, we were paying for them. He was using them.
You want to go back to my place?
He actually used to hit on our girlfriends, if I remember. But he was a legend in the underground, and we were pretty impressed with him. So we followed him around and listened to his preachings.
May 17th, 1969. Our young hippies follow Heisman to a remote woodland where he's promised them their greatest trip ever, This would be a whole new chemical high, different from anything they'd ever tried before. Liquid LSD.
I mean, we'd done blotters, we'd done acid on paper, and that was okay, but this stuff was just, it was heavy, heavy.
Heisman administers drop after drop after drop of liquid LSD to the boys. A massive dose miscalculation with potentially disastrous results. Dr. Brian Goldman gives us his perspective on the mind-altering drug LSD.
The effect of LSD is to hit certain receptors in your body, serotonin receptors, which affect your ability to draw correct conclusions from ordinary stimuli. The other thing that LSD does is it can hit dopamine receptors, the pleasure receptors in the brain. So they can induce a tremendous sense of euphoria. So you might be induced to do things because you're in a state of exalted happiness or pleasure, and you're apt to agree with the suggestions that are put forth when you're in that mood because you're feeling so good.
By now, they're such slaves to the drug and slaves to Heisman. It's bad timing. Their guru is about to plant an idea in their susceptible minds that would change their lives forever.
The grass was green, the sky was blue. Heisman was making more sense than he ever made.
You're going to see heaven here.
He was our savior. He said he was our savior. He was our savior.
He started saying things like, look at the sun, the light of the sun will cleanse your mind. Look into the sun.
Look at the sun.
With their thinking all mixed up by the mind-bending drugs and under the hypnotic trance of Heisman, the boys do as they are told and begin staring directly into the sun. The drugs, combined with the blinding light, holds them in a euphoric, hypnotic trance. As a result, they are unaware of the damage the sun's ultraviolet rays are doing to their retinas.
We actually have a name for this. It's called solar retinopathy. What's happening with solar retinopathy is that ultraviolet light is striking the macula. It's causing inflammation or swelling there. And yes, you can end up with a hole in the macula. Sometimes the damage can be permanent.
And for our young men, the damage is permanent.
The pain was intense. I mean, it was like daggers in my eyes. I remember we woke up in the hospital.
At first I couldn't see much. I got a little bit of my vision back, but
they had bandages on me for the first few weeks. And then they took the bandages off, and I couldn't see. I couldn't see a thing.
The third blinded man, Mike Campbell, declined to be interviewed. He wishes to put this event behind him. As for Rudy Heisman, he was last heard of in Toronto, Canada in 1976.
we were young, we were naive, and looking back on the whole thing, we were, I think probably stupid describes what we were back then, but three of us together, we're the three blind mice now.
As far as drug stories go, this was no run-of-the-mill bad trip. But is it true? Find out for sure later in the show. In the meantime, see if you can solve the puzzle that is mini-myth number 197, The Leaping Lawyer. Gary Hoy, a Toronto lawyer, made a joke out of testing the shatterproof qualities of the huge window panes at his downtown office tower. It always horrified visiting law students. But Gary doesn't do that anymore because the last time he did, on July 9th, 1993, he broke through the shatterproof glass and fell from his office, all the way from the 24th floor. Did you fall for it? Good, as it was and is absolutely true. We have 3 stories for you on Urban Legends. So far, we've seen the stranded streakers, and too much of them. We've taken you on a really bad trip. And now, here's the story of a hunting dog that actually retrieved a lit stick of dynamite. Remember to stay with us to the very end, when we'll tell you which of the 3 legendary tales is true, and which are just, well, legend. Meet Pete Shipp and his friend Gary Reed from Hampshire, England. They wanted to try their hand at something new, like hunting. But first things first, they needed a gun. Meet Pete's brother-in-law, Ken Allen.
I've got 4 guns, all licensed, mind you, all licensed.
Ken agrees to take them out himself. And on the day of the shoot, he even picks them up in his fancy new and expensive SUV.
He only just bought it, apparently. Costs a lot of money.
Huey, Dewey, let's go. We've got a shoot to do.
We're about to take off, and then Ken says...
Hang on a minute.
What?
We need a dog.
Ken was right. Hunters often use dogs to hunt game birds. Here's hunting expert Vincent Camel to explain.
I mean, not all birds get killed when they get shot, and so the dogs go and pick them up, bring them back, and then they have to be dispatched. It's all done very humanely. Yeah, it's very humane.
Of course, bright spark is, Ken. He says, your missus, my sister, Tina, she's got a dog, hasn't she?
Meet Dexter, a chocolate Labrador retriever. Now, it's said that dog is man's best friend, but with friends like Dexter, you really don't need enemies.
Come on, good boy. Come on.
And before I know it, we've got the pooch, and we're on our way.
Ken, Pete, Gary, and Dexter the dog are finally ready to try their hand at pheasant shooting.
I thought, if we get in there first thing in the morning, we'll be able to shoot a few birds.
Here, buddy.
Thing is, 2 hours later, nothing. So we decide to go back to the Range Rover, have a cup of tea, and decide what we're going to do next. That's when Ken comes up with his second bright idea of the day.
One of these.
It's dynamite. He's got 12 bars of the thing in the back of the boot.
Well, we use dynamite for underwater blasting on rigs, and I had the idea of using it on the pheasants. Well, not to kill them, just to basically chuck it in the woods, big explosion, birds frightened, see the big explosion fly out, we can pop them out of the sky, no problem. But I like the dynamite, chuck it in the woods, it's fantastic. I'm thinking, yeah, here we go, give it a few seconds.
Right.
Well, the thing is, Dexter goes running after it.
Where's that dog going?
Dexter's trained to retrieve.
The dog's gone after dynamite.
So he goes off into the woods.
Dexter picks it up and he starts running back towards us.
The dog. No!
Ken gets his shotgun and starts shooting at the dog.
You shot at this dog?
Well, of course we do. We ain't going to let the dog come at us with a stick of dynamite in its mouth.
Of course, by now, the dog's upset and it runs for cover, the nearest cover it can find. Ken's Range Rover. He goes under the Range Rover and then it really is like slow motion. Needless to say, Dexter's had it. He's gone. Tina's dog, dead.
As far as I'm concerned, it was his idea. He's the one who came up with the idea. I went along with it, all right? But that don't mean it's my fault.
To make matters worse, the explosion catches the attention of local police. Pete is fined $2,000 for disturbing the peace. Gary gets the same. As for Dynamite Ken, he's hit the hardest, a 6-month sentence for illegal use of explosives. His new SUV is destroyed with over $50,000 still owing.
It still sends shivers up me talking about it now. I still can't believe it.
A fitting end to a frightening tale. But is it true? While you're considering that, consider this. Mini myth number 211. The false teeth thief. A man who broke into a cafeteria in Sweden accidentally left behind his false teeth. Unfortunately for him, His own social security number was actually engraved on them. So, in case of loss, the owner could easily be traced. He told the arresting officer he left in a hurry after failing to find anything of value and dropped the teeth while fleeing. But are you convinced by this denture adventure? They were false teeth, but it's a true story. The would-be thief got his teeth back and was arrested for break and entering. It's time to tell the truth. Let's begin with those acid-blind hippies. The story appeared in the Los Angeles Times in January 1968. It then spread all over the country, even making Time magazine. But even then, it wasn't true. LSD can't override the self-preservation instinct preventing someone to force their eyes to stay open long enough to burn out their retinas. But staring at the sun can cause permanent damage to the eye. It's most often reported when people think it's safest, during a solar eclipse. But make no mistake, staring at the sun can permanently damage your eyes, so don't try it. And then there were two, Dynamite dog versus clothes-free clowns. Which is true? Have you made your decision? If you said Dexter the dog's explosive ending was true, you're completely wrong. Our exploding gun dog story first saw print in a book called Joe Wilson and His Mates by Australian author Henry Lawson back in 1901. In the book, a pesky dog brings back a stick of dynamite. It was a work of fiction then, and it still is now. It's just not true. The Spokane Streakers story, on the other hand, is the naked truth. And to prove it, this is actual footage from the night in question, and it really did make them into local celebrities, for all the wrong reasons.
How does that happen? I don't know. Learned my lesson on that one. I guess it was just a desperate attempt to be more confident.
While the streak itself ended in embarrassment, the prank really did help cure Kevin's shyness.
Everybody calls me Streaker. All my buddies do. So, just call me Streaker. It's my name now.
So as they streak into the annals of history, only you know the difference between truth and fiction. Or do you? Test yourself next time on Urban Legends.